I need to back up just a bit because at the end of our first day in Israel, we stopped at the Roman Catholic Church of the Annunciation in Nazareth. The massive two-story basilica is the largest Christian church in the Middle East. The Annunciation was the announcement by the Archangel Gabriel to the Blessed Virgin Mary that she would conceive and become the mother of Jesus and Son of God. The front doors are impressive in their stature, beauty, and message. They convey key events in Mary's life from the Annunciation to the crucifixion. Upon entering, you're immediately struck by the massive interior and the uniqueness of the design. At the time we visited, we were lucky to see a Mass. This was Mary's home before she married Joseph at age 14. It is called the Grotto of the Annunciation. The first church was built on this site around Mary's home in the 4th century AD. The courtyard has a beautiful statue of Mary prominently displayed. Her right foot is stepping on the head of a snake. As many of the different sites in Israel, modest dress is required. Women have to keep their knees and shoulders covered. I liked the modest dress requirements. I can't imagine what some other countries must think about American women, especially when they're walking through the Miami airport. The courtyard also has many images of Mary sent from around the world displaying different countries. It's very impressive. This was our last stop on our first full day in Israel. We then went to our Kibbutz, which was on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. The sunset on our first night was beyond amazing. Looking here at the Sea of Galilee was one of my more memorable experiences. The colors in the evening sky and the cool breeze, and thinking about where we were was an incredible feeling. We stayed here for 2 nights. I did go down to the shore to wade in the water. I remember Fred and I were all alone by the shore, and it was a beautiful time to reflect on the events of the day. I was also able to spend a little time in the pool. This is a very nice place to stay. The name of this kibbutz is Magen Holiday Village. Kibbutz hotels are a unique Israeli form of hospitality, and the kibbutz is a form of collective communal settlement. The Sea of Galilee is talked about so much in the Bible. His miraculous feeding of 5,000 with only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and of course the miracle of Jesus walking on water, which was the miracle more than any other that convinced Jesus' disciples that he was indeed the Son of God. So now we're actually about to start our second day, and we were again told to wear very conservative clothing. We had a long ride to Toulon Heights, and our first stop was the site where Jesus conducted the Sermon on the Mount. This location is along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, and the Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' longest speech and teaching in the New Testament. Jesus sees the multitudes, goes up into the mountain, and is followed by his disciples and begins to preach. A portion of these teachings are referred to as the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. We then enjoyed a 1-hour boat ride on the Sea of Galilee, which is the lowest freshwater lake on earth and the second lowest lake in the world after the Dead Sea, which is a saltwater lake. Its water level is around 700 feet below sea level. It's approximately 33 miles in circumference and approximately 140 feet deep. The lake is fed partly by underground springs, although its main source is the Jordan River, which flows north to south.
Label. Okay.
Fate
The boat ride on the Sea of Galilee was very nice, and the Christian group who operated it were very accommodating. They even sold beautiful little necklaces at the end. Fred said they were like little fishing lures to all the women. We then saw an ancient fishing boat from 2,000 years ago, or 1st century AD, that was carefully excavated and preserved. The ancient Galilee boat is often referred to as Jesus' boat and was discovered in 1986. Our next stop was Hazor National Park. Hazor is a large ancient city that is mentioned in the Bible, especially the Old Testament. It is the largest archaeological site in Israel and one of the first that was ever excavated. Hazor was a major city in biblical times, and when you come here, you can see remnants of several ancient civilizations. There is a restored Canaanite palace, an ancient water system, and a gate and walls from the glory days of King Solomon. The mud bricks quarried by ancient stonecutters who built this city are well preserved. The ancient water system was built so that in case the city fell under siege, they would have a water supply safely available inside the gate. The site was excavated by a famous archaeologist, and the ruins are still under excavation by his students from the Hebrew University. There are also some very well-marked walking trails and an antiquities museum nearby. We loaded on the tour bus again and made our way to Banias Nature Preserve, also called Caesarea Philippi. This is the beginning of the Jordan River, and there is an abundance of cool water and lush greenery in the middle of a very dry country. It is an oasis, which is undoubtedly how it must have seemed thousands of years ago. You can see the remains of a Roman temple dedicated to the Greek god Pan at this site. Caesarea Philippi, which stood in a lush area near the foot of Mount Hermon, was a city dominated by immoral activities and pagan worship. Here is a significant outcropping of a rock that is a major geological feature, and one can well imagine this setting when Jesus says, "And on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it." There is a deep symbolism here, as the god Pan, with his hooves and horns, could well have been associated by some in the ancient world with hell. To the pagan mind, the cave at Caesarea Philippi created a gate to the underworld, where fertility gods lived during the winter. They committed detestable acts to worship these false gods, and when Jesus brought his disciples to the area, they must have been shocked. Caesarea Philippi was like a red light district to their world, and devout Jews would have avoided any contact with the despicable acts committed here. It was a city of people eagerly knocking at the doors of hell. The gates of hell that you see here in the background are located above the springs, and you can gain a first-hand experience of what it was like to have worshipped the gods that these pagans worshipped, primarily Pan. Located at the base of Mount Hermon, the colors of the rocks, the flora, and the springs makes for a beautiful sight in contrast to the horrible history of human sacrifices. While the nature preserve is very close to the Lebanese border and signs warning of mines are near the road, the nature preserve is actually quite safe and provides access to the Banias waterfalls, which were visited by Jesus and a few of his disciples. We also enjoyed the gift store. For lunch, it was just a short ride to a Lebanese restaurant. I had a chicken pita and pickled slaw. I've got to say that while I'm definitely not a choosy eater, I could not really embrace the Lebanese and Israeli food. We bought an ice cream sandwich after lunch, and Fred said that it was the only thing worth eating all day. I don't like being negative, but the food in this country was just so different from what we're used to, we couldn't find it enjoyable. We then visited Tel Dan Abraham Gate, or the Canaanite Gate. This structure is a 4,000-year-old mud brick gate from 18th century BC. The ancient structure from the Canaanite period of the Bronze Age is made of mud and is thought to have been built around 1750 BC. This is the earliest constructed ark ever discovered. One of the most important finds at this site is the ruins of the Canaanite city of Laish, which was captured by the tribe of Dan during the period of Judges. This is a 5,000-year-old city. Our last stop of the day was the town of Capernum. The town was in existence from the 2nd century BC to the 7th century AD. Capernum was built along the edge of the Sea of Galilee and had up to 1,500 residents, many of whom were fishermen. This is one of Israel's most sacred Christian pilgrimage sites. In biblical times, Capernum was one of the main villages in the Sea of Galilee region. When Jesus left Nazareth, he made Capernum his home during the years of his ministry. Peter, Andrew, James, and John were fishermen, all living in the village. Matthew, the tax collector, also lived here. Capernum is one of the 3 cities cursed by Jesus for its lack of faith. Israeli archaeologists uncovered one of the earliest depictions of a menorah. The menorah was engraved in stone around 2,000 years ago and found here in Capernum. This was a really neat thing to see. We really enjoyed this. So this video shows the Church of Annunciation, the Kibbutz on the Sea of Galilee, the Sermon on the Mount, the boat ride on the Sea of Galilee, Hazor National Park, Banias Nature Reserve, Abraham's Gate, and Capernum. This video seems long to me. Day 3 will be easier, as I think we only visited 3 sites and we were baptized in the Jordan River. So stay tuned.